Hi everyone, welcome back to Mike Pops Off, the show where we don't hit snooze on pop culture. Today's episode is titled Caffeinated Heroism, how superheroes have always been wide awake. This episode will hit a little harder than last week's, like Batman just kicked you in the face, and is a topic that has been on my mind since I saw James Gunn's Superman the other week, and I recently saw Fantastic Four First Steps. So, let's get one thing straight. People nowadays love to throw around the word woke as if it's some brand new virus infecting superhero stories. But let me tell you, superheroes have always been wide awake since before your grandpa had sideburns. From the 1930s to today, the most iconic capes and cowls have never been about escapism alone. They were cultural fire alarms, ringing about fascism, racism, war, civil rights, and injustice. Yes, they were woke before it was even a buzzword. So let's pop off. So let's kick things off with the Star-Spangled activist himself, Captain America. Steve Rogers didn't wait until World War II was over to take a stand. In his very first comic book back in 1941, it had him literally punching Hitler in the face on the cover. The United States haven't even entered World War II yet, and they wouldn't for a few more months when Pearl Harbor happened. Cap was created by artists Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, and he was a political statement from day one, not just against fascism abroad, but later against corruption and oppression at home in the States. In the 70s, Cap goes head-to-head with a corrupt government agency, questions the American dream, and even drops the shield for a while, becoming the nomad, the man without a country. Cap wasn't just a soldier, and he's still not just a soldier. He's a symbol of what America should be, not blind patriotism. Even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU for short, Cap openly defies S.H.I.E.L.D., the US government, and even Tony Stark when they compromise freedom and autonomy. Captain America doesn't follow orders, he follows values. So when people cry, "Oh, Captain America is too political now," they're ignoring the entire point of the character. Next up, we got Big Blue himself, Superman. He was created in the late 1930s by two Jewish teenagers and the sons of immigrants, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Superman was the ultimate immigrant narrative. He's a refugee from a dying planet. He was raised by farmers, using his power to fight for the voiceless. Before he ever fought aliens or robots, Superman took on slumlords, domestic abusers, and racist politicians. He was a New Deal progressive in spandex. He wasn't just strong, he was socially conscious. And during World War II, Superman even battled Nazis in the comics. And just like Captain America, this was before the U.S. Did anything in real life. He wasn't made to make you feel comfortable. He was made to inspire, challenge, even protect, especially those who couldn't protect themselves. Superman is the ultimate outsider, using his privilege for good. You think that's apolitical? Yeah, I would think again. Now let's move on to the X-Men. So, come on, let's not play dumb here. Since the 1960s, This has been a walking, talking metaphor for civil rights, racism, homophobia, fear of the other. Take your pick. You've got Professor X preaching peaceful resistance and integration. Then you've got Magneto saying, we've tried peace. They'll never accept us. It's time to fight back. Now, does that sound like a random superhero rivalry or a reflection of the ideological split between MLK Jr. and Malcolm X, who are the actual inspirations of those two characters? So let's look at the stories. Mutants hiding their identities, parents rejecting their mutant kids, governments passing mutant registration laws. Does any of that sound familiar when looking back at real life events or situations from the last 60 or so years? In the movies from the 2000s, they even used the line, have you tried not being a mutant? You can't tell me that that's not a metaphor pertaining to my friends in the LGBTQ plus community. The metaphor isn't subtle. It's the entire point. And still, people may be acting surprised when X-Men tackle oppression in every form. They've been doing that since some of us were even born. Now, let's talk about Black Panther, both the character and a little bit of the controversy. T'Challa made his debut in 1966, and he wasn't a sidekick. He wasn't a stereotype. He was the king of Wakanda, a fictional African nation that had never been colonized. It sat on a mountain of vibranium, boasted technology that made Tony Stark look like a garage tinkerer. Now, here's the twist. The Black Panther Party, the real-life political organization, it was founded much later that same year, in October of 66. So, no, Marvel didn't name the character after the party, but as the Black Panther Party gained notoriety, Marvel temporarily changed the character's name to Black Leopard in the early 70s to distance themselves from the organization. But that didn't last long. I mean, in my opinion, Black Leopard sounds like a knockoff cereal brand. But that name overlapped. It made Black Panther controversial, especially in a time when anything associated with black empowerment was seen as threatening. And let's be real. Black Panther, and I'm talking about the character, was empowering. He wasn't a victim. He wasn't a westernized hero. He was sovereign, smart, and strategic. His presence alone challenged the idea that power, intelligence, and innovation had to come from the West. Now, to stick with the 70s a little bit longer, stories with Black Panther engaged with significant social issues of the time, such as the resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan in the state of Georgia. Another story addressed the issue of apartheid in South Africa. Now, fast forward to 2018, where we saw the actual Black Panther movie, when it becomes a cultural earthquake. You got an all-black cast, a black director, and themes that deal with colonization, identity, diaspora, and justice. And then you've got Killmonger, who isn't just a villain. He's a revolutionary. A revolutionary. He echoes some of the rhetoric that you could see with the real-life Black Panther Party. He says, bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped from ships, because they knew death was better than bondage. That's not comic book writing. That's political poetry. So when people call Black Panther woke, what they're really saying is, I wasn't ready for this character to mean something. But here's the thing. He already did. He always did. Next character I want to pop off about is the Punisher. Someone you don't want to copy. And he is one of the most widely misunderstood characters in all of comicdom. Frank Castle is not your average hero. He's really not your friendly neighborhood anything. He's a man broken by grief and rage. His family is gunned down in a mob hit in Central Park. And instead of seeking justice through the system, he declares a war on crime itself. Sounds badass, right? And on the surface, it kind of is. But if we dig a little deeper, and you realize that the Punisher is not someone we're supposed to admire, he's not a good guy to model your ethics after. He is what happens when justice becomes oppression, when grief eats away at your soul, when killing becomes routine. He's a tragedy wrapped in a tactical vest. But somewhere along the way, people started getting it twisted. The Punisher's skull logo meant to strike fear into criminals and got co-opted by people who think they're vigilantes. And, we've seen it. Cops using it as a symbol of law and order, military units slapping it on gear, militia groups treating Frank Castle as the patron saint of lethal force. But let me say this clearly. Frank Castle would not be on your side. In fact, the comics explicitly say so. In one issue of the comics, there's a panel where two cops approach him. One says they admire him. They even have the skull logo on their car. And you know what Frank does? He rips the sticker clean off, tears it in half, and says, I'll say this once. We're not the same. You took an oath. You help people. I gave that up a long time ago. You don't do what I do. Nobody does. In other words, don't make the Punisher your role model. Don't make him one in general. He's a cautionary tale. Creator Jerry Conway, who co-created the Punisher in 1974, if this recording picked that up, I don't think the universe is too thrilled with this topic, but I'm going to continue anyway. So Jerry Conway, who co-created the Punisher in 1974, has also called out this hijacking of the symbol. He's openly said that the appropriation of the skull by law enforcement is disturbing and fundamentally misunderstands the character. Frank Castle knows he's crossing the line. He's not trying to be not Superman. He's not trying to be Spider-Man. He's not trying to be Superman either. He's not saving kittens from trees or taking down criminals or talking down criminals. He's executing them. The stories show the cost of that mentality, the toll it takes, the lives it ruins, including his own. Even in Netflix's Punisher series, they don't glorify what he does. He suffers. He isolates himself. He doesn't trust the system. He also doesn't think he deserves peace. So when someone puts that skull on their gear like it's a badge of justice, I'm here to say, yo, you're missing the point. The Punisher isn't a symbol of law and order. He's a symbol of what happens when you give it up or give that up entirely. Frank Castle is not aspirational. He's a warning. Last thing I want to touch upon is the Watchmen. So we got to wrap up with them. Published in 1986, Watchmen isn't just a story. It's a deconstruction of the entire superhero genre. Alan Moore wasn't interested in shiny costumes. He wanted to know what kind of person would put on a mask and call themselves righteous. Spoiler alert, it's not always the kind you'd want saving you. It's about Cold War paranoia, unchecked authority, and public manipulation. It's about power without oversight. Watchmen wasn't anti-superhero. It's anti-authoritarianism. It ripped open the facade and showed you what these things really looked like. Rorschach, everyone's favorite edgy icon, he's not a role model. He's a deeply disturbed man. The narrative isn't endorsing him. It's warning you about people like him. Watchmen was woke before the term even existed. It asked hard questions and refused to give easy answers. Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons didn't want you to feel good about masks and moral certainty. They wanted you to worry about it. So look, if you want superheroes who never question authority, who keep politics out of it, who don't challenge the system, you're not talking about superheroes. You're talking about propaganda. From Superman to Captain America, X-Men to Black Panther, Punisher to Watchmen, these stories have always been alert. They've been fighting oppression, interrogating morality, and yes, waking us up for generations. The next time someone whines that superhero stories are too woke, you tell them they're always been caffeinated, pal. So this has been Mike Pops Off. Featuring myself and a little bit of thunder. I think Thor was hearing me. Stay bold, stay loud, and keep those eyes open. We don't do sleepy takes around here. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you guys next time.